anyone sitting in political power must realize कि किसानों से पंगा नहीं लेना आगे से। डर होना चाहिए कि भाई किसानों से पंगा लिया तो भारी पड़ जाएगा, जैसे मोदी जी के साथ हुआ था। Remember, Mr. Ayush Sinha is giving that great video, those filmy dialogues, at 9 in the morning before a single incident has taken place. The only negotiation, the only dialogue, conversation that needs to take place is between the Prime Minister of India and Mr. Narendra Modi.
It's been almost a year since the farmers started protesting against the centre's 3 contentious farm laws. While the farmers believe that these new laws will leave them at the mercy of big companies, the centre has maintained that the new system will bring a revolution in the agriculture sector. It will provide new opportunities to the farmers. Nearly a dozen rounds of talks have already been held, but no common ground has been reached. On the other hand, farmers are now catalyzing the ongoing protest. They are planning more protests in the coming times. What is the future course of action that the farmers are going to take from here on? What are the main concerns that they want the government to address? And most importantly, are these protests taking a political overtone? To answer all these questions, we have with us Jai Kisan Andolan founder and member of Swaraj India Party, Yogendra Yadav ji. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, it's been almost 10 months that the protests have been going on. Government is not ready to cede any ground. What is going to be the approach of the protest now?
The way for the protest is forward, because it's not just an ordinary protest. For a protest, you can say, well, it's 2 months, 3 months, what are you going to do? This has now become a movement which has taken much broader dimensions. So it began with a localized protest against 3 laws. It has expanded now into a movement for the future of farming, farmers in rural India. It began as something in one part of the country. It has now spread to a very large parts of the country. And for future, I think it's quite clear. Number one, we are going to expand it geographically. The movement is much stronger, intense in North and Northwest India, but we want to take it to the east, to the south, make it even more intense. It's been there, but we want to make it more intense. We want to focus on Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand via Mission Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, which has already been inaugurated in Muzaffarnagar on the 5th of September. And we want to build larger coalitions with workers, with students, with people who are unemployed, with women, Dalit, Adivasi, all kinds of sections who are at the receiving end of this government's policies. So the way forward is forward.
Nearly a dozen rounds of talks have already been held. What do you think is the finer bone of contention here?
You could say that we had 11 rounds of talk. I would honestly say there was very little talk in those talks. Most of the time it was talking past each other. It's only in the last round when the government said we offered to freeze these for a year or two, that for the first time there was a genuine offer. Otherwise there was no offer. The government was simply trying to teach us how wonderful these laws are. And we were saying, please stop teaching us. We know about what these laws are and we want them repealed. So there was really little talk. Formally, you can say all that. The real bone of contention is, in a sense, the change in the architecture of Indian agriculture. These 3 laws seek to change the legal architecture. They give a political clue about what the future of Indian agriculture and farming would be like, what kind of government policies there would be. And it is to this larger transformation that farmers are objecting. What farmers feel is that for the last 70 years, we have had a part working, part broken system which has worked for the farmers by way of agriculture mandis, by way of various laws, by way of half broken MSP system, etc. And it seems to the farmers that now even that half-broken system is going to be destroyed, is going to be withdrawn. And basically, this is the beginning of the Indian state saying, we are washing our hands of agriculture. Now it's you and some companies, you handle it. We want better growth in agriculture. These companies will deliver growth. And the farmers are an obstacle to the growth of Indian agriculture. This is the message the government is going out. And it is to this message, this signal, that farmers are objecting above all, because their apprehension is that the half-functioning agriculture price, this Mandi system, APMC system, is something which is about to be dismantled. They fear that FCI is about to be wound up. They fear that procurement of the kind that takes place today will not happen. They fear that MSP, which reaches very few right now, even those are going to be deprived. They fear that they are going to be left at the mercy of large agribusiness corporates that are entering the game.
Now, the government has maintained so far that the FPTC will allow farmers to sell their products outside the APMC mandis, and it will give them better prices. It will free them from the mandi taxes. What is the main concern here?
Number one, let's not forget that an overwhelming majority of farm produce has always been sold outside the mandis. Yes. This is not for the first time that this is happening. What is happening for the first time is that an organized entity, which would be called the free trade zone or whatever, right. But these free trade, basically a private mandi will come up. A private mandi is being told, you can do business, all right, but you don't have to pay taxes that would be levied inside the mandi. You don't have to be registered the way every mandi dealer has to be registered. You would not be under regulations of the mandi. That is the difference. The difference is not between Sarkari mandi and a private mandi. The difference is not between one place and any trade taking place outside mandi. That has always happened. The difference is that an unequal competition is being set up. Okay. Outside, the private mandi would be able to say to the farmers, come to me, I don't have to pay, you have to, if you go in, you'll pay 6% taxes. There's no taxes here, come in here. Which fool would go to the private Sarkari mandi and sell it there? Okay. Obviously, private mandis would have an advantage. They would have an advantage because, so the difference is between regulated and unregulated, taxed and untaxed. Now, that's clearly an unequal playing ground. And the apprehension is that in the first 2 or 3 years, private mandis will offer better prices to the farmers. In these 2 or 3 years, the APMC would collapse because APMC has only private players inside it. APMC is not a Sarkari market, it's a private market. And all these private players will either move out or exit. And once APMC is demolished, then it is a free monopoly of these private mandis. Now, this is not unusual. Your viewers would know about what happened in the case of Jio Mobile. Initially, they were free, unlimited, what you want to do. Once they captured the market, then terms and conditions changed. That's exactly what everyone fears. The government says that these laws will not have any impact on the MSP. Right? And this is one of the main concerns of the farmers, that it will demolish the MSP. How do you think that these laws will have an impact on the MSP? The basic change that all these 3 laws indicate, the mindset, which the government spokespersons have spoken again and again and again. The basic mindset is state should step back from agriculture operations. And while MSP is not written into any of the 3 acts, withdrawal of MSP is not written anywhere. But if APMC does not exist, if the places where MSP is actually given to the farmers, they are dismantled, where would farmers get MSP from? Areas which do not have mandis in the country today Does anyone get MSP there? No, because you need, first of all, an organized market where state is present for MSP to be delivered. So MSP would remain on paper. There would be no place where MSP would actually be transacted. And number two, it is quite clear that this is the intent of the government, because the Shanta Kumar committee, which had come, the very first act of this government when they came to power in 2014 was to appoint Shanta Kumar committee. And the recommendation of the committee that came in early 2015 is quite clear. Close down FCI, get rid of procurement operations, step out of it, it's too expensive, stay clear of it. That's exactly, farmers now know this is your intent, this is why you're doing it. And this is not merely an intent. The government had given an affidavit to the Supreme Court saying this kind of MSP is unaffordable. The government has written letters to Punjab and Haryana government saying you're doing too much procurement, please reduce it. So farmers are no fools. They know that this is coming.
When the Supreme Court stepped in and it formed a 3-member committee to review the farm laws and try and find an amicable solution. In fact, one of the members, Anil Ghanwat, he recently said that the recommendations in the report submitted by them already has, it already can be an icebreaker, right? What is your point of view on this?
I just want to remind you that number one, we have had nothing to do with that case. We were not a party in that case. No farmer union went to the Supreme Court. We said we do not want this case to be adjudicated by any court. We are dealing with our elected governments. That's where we want to sort it out. Supreme Court steps in. They appoint a committee. Who are the members of these committee? What are their affiliations? What is their orientation? These are people who have over the years again and again advocated these 3 laws. Mr. Gunwant is a person who has been abusing farmers movements for the movement that we have launched. Today he's become a neutral spokesperson. He's become an expert.
It is deviating from its actual path. Now we are seeing a fresh vigor in the farmers' protest. Does this have anything to do with the upcoming elections in UP and Uttarakhand? And is the political agenda overtaking the farmers' interest anywhere? Do you think so?
We have announced Mission Uttar Pradesh and Mission UP. Why have we announced Mission Uttar Pradesh? It has to do with our assessment that pressurizing this government in Uttar Pradesh would yield results. We are in the business of pressurizing this government so that these laws can be withdrawn and MSP law can be made. So yes, we will exert influence. Yes, we would exert pressure. Yes, we went to West Bengal and exerted pressure. Yes, we would go to UP and exert pressure. If this is politics, well, everyone should do politics. But Kisan unions are not going to say, please give me vote. I'm a candidate, this is my party, I'm becoming MLA, someone else is becoming CM. No. And this kind of putting pressure is something which all movements do all the time. They should do it, labor movement do it, Karamcharis do it, everyone does it. This is legitimate. We live in a democracy. In a democracy, for me to say, this party is not listening to me, please punish them. Why not? This is absolutely legitimate.
Your fight is against, you admit that your fight is against the BJP. You have backed several rallies and campaigns which have been against the BJP in the recent past in states which were poll bound. To what extent do you see that this campaign, that this movement is going to have an impact on the BJP's prospects in the upcoming elections?
I would like it to have effect. I would like to believe that in Bengal we did have effect. We went there, we distributed, we took public position, we addressed rallies, we addressed press conferences. And I would like to believe that our campaign made a difference. It would be silly on my part to assume that we were the ones who changed the Bengal election results. We made probably 1 degree difference, maybe 2 degrees of difference. We are happy that we did. And if we make 3 degrees of difference in Uttar Pradesh, that's even better. And yes, I would like to see that we make a difference. What are we doing all this for if not for a difference? Yes, we would like to make a difference. And I do not know if that would change the entire result. Again, it would be presumptuous on my part to assume that we are the only player who can change everything.
Right.
We will make a difference, and hopefully difference would be important enough for BJP to realize what is the cost of being anti-farmer. We just want to convey to them, being anti-farmer is a costly business.
But when you say that the protest should not be apolitical, don't you think that with political players, with parties coming into this, it will supersede the interests of farmers somewhere?
For us, the only thing clearly is farmers' interest. We push that forward. Whoever gains, gains. Whoever loses, loses. Our interest is farmers must gain. And anyone sitting in political power must realize कि किसानों से पंगा नहीं लेना आगे से. If this message goes, today it's BJP, tomorrow it will be some other party. I want every leader of this country, anyone who sits in position of power, to have fear of God, as they say. डर होना चाहिए कि भाई किसानों से पंगा लिया तो भारी पड़ जाएगा, जैसे मोदी जी के साथ हुआ था. I want that to happen. Why not?
Now, Karnal SDM Ayush Sinha, he has been facing a lot of criticism for his break the heads order. Manohar Lal Khattar, he said that while the words were harsh, the police action was justified to maintain law and order. Now, after an incident like what happened on the Republic Day, don't you think that such precautionary measure is justified?
You mean to say saying that break the heads of people is a precautionary measure?
No, that is yes.
Precautionary measure is to say there is, you make all the preparations up to firing. Firing is allowed under the Indian law. But to say if someone crosses this line, hit him on his head, break his head. I want broken heads to be seen. What makes that legal? Show me one clause. It's not the wording. The government is playing around with these things. This is not wording. क्या कहना चाहिए था? लाठियों से पुष्प वर्षा कीजिए. Would that be a nice wording? It's not about wording. There is a completely illegal order being issued at that time, which has nothing to do with any provocation. Remember, Mr. Ayush Sinha is giving that great video, those filmy dialogues, at 9 in the morning before a single incident has taken place of any kind. There is not even an allegation by then of anything happening. Why is he saying what he's saying? Can an IAS officer get away with it? Can I say these things? If I simply say that when this man leaves after interviewing me, break his head, whether I break your head or not, I'm doing something illegal.
During the protest last year in December, early January, posters of Umar Khalid, Sharjeel Imam, V.V. Rao, they were seen during the protest. Even there were pro-Pakistani and pro-Khalistani slogans being raised. How do you respond to such incidents which allow the government to point fingers at your intentions?
In a large movements of this kind, posters, if you look for, you would find all kinds of posters. About pro-Pakistan slogan, for the first time I'm hearing this from you now after 10 months. Yes. I have not had the pleasure, unless they've been able to invent some such thing in the meanwhile. The allegations about pro-Khalistani slogans, turned out that the video footage was from some place in Canada, not from here. You know, so the fact of all these things has never been established. About posters of Varvara Rao, Khalid and so on, that were indeed used by one organization on a Human Rights Day. The organization said all these are prisoners of conscience. These people are being held prisoner against their, these are political prisoners being held unlawfully. That is a very legitimate point of view, and some organization will put it up. The question is that Sanyukt Kisan Morcha's demand?
Now, during these protests, roads are being blocked, borders are being sealed, highways are being blocked, railway tracks are being blocked. All these things, they cause a lot of inconvenience to the common man. Don't you think this might create a negative impact on the farmers' protest?
I would like to remind you of the question that the Supreme Court had asked.
Yes.
When this question came up, I think 8 months ago, the Supreme Court had said, who has put the barriers? Have the farmers put barricades on the national highway? The lawyer on behalf of the government said, no sir, police has put those barricades. So yes, barricades are bad. Who has put them up? The police has put them up. We wanted to come in to speak to our government. The government stopped us, put barricades. So barricades are a bad idea, but who has put them up? Blocking railways, yes, we have done it occasionally, but that's not part of our regular activity. We don't mean to do so. And whoever is responsible, the fact is that it does cause inconvenience to public. Yes, of course. And it causes a lot of inconvenience to farmers themselves who are sitting on the road. I mean, try sitting on those roads for a few days. Take your entire staff there, live there for 3-4 days. You would realize that that's also a very inconvenient way of living. So yes, there is inconvenience. Yes, we want to resolve it. Yes, we feel very bad about people who are being inconvenienced, whether as commuters, old people traveling, ambulances passing. These are not things that can make anyone feel good about it. And therefore, we want to conclude it as soon as possible.
Yogendra, personally, how do you suggest this stalemate to end if center and the farmers, they are both ready to come on the negotiation table?
I don't think the center is willing to come on the negotiation table. If they were, we had actually written them letter. Once the negotiations broke down in the month of June, we wrote to the Prime Minister to say we want to restart the negotiations. Please restart it. He hasn't bothered. So if they want to, there is nothing that prevents it. If the Prime Minister were to want today to hold negotiations next week, I'm sure they'll start next week. So it's only the Prime Minister who stopped it. And honestly, the only negotiation, the only dialogue, conversation that needs to take place is between the Prime Minister of India and Mr. Narendra Modi. He needs to sit in front of a mirror and ask himself, is my ego all that important? Do crores of farmers matter less than my personal ego? He has turned this entire thing into a prestige issue. His ministers tell us informally, भाई कुछ भी कर लो, बस रिपील मत करवाओ और कुछ मर्जी करवा लो. क्यों नहीं करवाओ साहब? देखिए प्रधानमंत्री की इज्जत का मामला है. So one person's prestige is more important than lives and livelihoods of millions of people. This is what Mr. Narendra Modi needs to speak to the Prime Minister. If Mr. Narendra Modi tells the Prime Minister, no, you're not all that important. In a democracy, the leader who bends is a big leader. If that conversation takes place in 5 minutes, then I'm sure the resolution of all this will take only 10 more minutes. This is the only negotiation conversation which is remaining. And it is very sad that one person's ego and prestige is coming in the way of resolution of such a large thing.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time and for discussing such an important issue. And we really hope that whatever is in the best interest of farmers and it's an amicable solution, it comes up really soon so that this stalemate can end. And thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.